Welcome to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show, where we explore nighttime dreams, daytime desires, and the best ways to transform the tragic into magic. Because let's face it, we all dream, we all have our blessings, and we all have our challenges, myself included. And I don't want any of us to take any of those things lying down, if you know what I mean. I just wrote a book entitled A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste. I'm excited to explore the topic with you, whether it relates to your waking or sleeping dreams, because we're dreaming all the time, people. So let's make it the best dream possible. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome to the show today. This is going to be a little different, a little left of center, a little, it's going to be magical. So this show is airing, if you're in real time with me-ish, it's airing on Valentine's Day. So my guest and I thought it would be great to have a theme around that, to be inspired by love, but not in the typical relationship between two lovebirds, no, but between the muse and the creative with boots on the ground. So this relates to dreams because everything I do eventually ties back into dreams. I think dreams are one way that we connect to the muse. She connects with us through dreams, and we, in turn, by paying attention to her, we kind of begin the process of romancing that muse. So let me tell you a little bit about my amazing guest. It all goes back to 7,000 years ago, if you could believe it. 7,000 years ago, Suzie Plakson started life as an actor, pounding the pavements of New York City. Can you imagine there was a New York City in 7,000 years ago? But, just go with it. She did tons of temp jobs, some improv comedy, some off Broadway theater fiascos, played Maleficent in a Disney spectacular at Radio City Music Hall, and at long last landed the lead in a national tour playing 4 characters opposite the musical theater legend Anthony Newley. A turn of events which dropped her off in Hollywood. Thank the Lord, because I met her in Hollywood. So we wouldn't be doing this right now if it wasn't for Anthony Newley. So, and you can hear her voice back there. The muse is speaking. I think of Suzie as the muse. So we're kind of hybriding this intro. So since then, since she landed in Hollywood, she has appeared in things like Mad About You, Wag the Dog. I love that movie so much. Love and War, Dinosaurs, Everybody Loves Raymond. Actually, everybody loves Suzie, but Everybody Loves Raymond, the television show. How I Met Your Mother, Star Trek. So many characters in Star Trek. Bunch of other guest star roles and a few seriously bad pilots. As a multimedia artist, she creates sculptures, large and small, in her otherwise unused oven. Because what else is an oven for? Right. She sings and she writes different styles of songs, most recently, the pop song empowerment app. I'm going to say that again. The pop song empowerment anthem, You Be You. We're going to play a little bit of that later on too, so just look forward to that. Suzie has written short stories, poetry. She did a solo theater show, an alternative country rock album, out of which sprang the music video Didn't Want to Do It. Oh my God. So just stop right here for a moment. If you haven't seen Suzie Plakson's Didn't Want to Do It, you must look it up. It is freaking phenomenal. I've watched it myself probably 20 times, and I will probably watch it 20,000 more times. So most of those views, and there's many, are from me. I'm like, how did you do this? It's amazing. Oh my God, it's so fun. She's also written and narrated her metaphysical myth for the eternally young at heart and young of heart. The Return of King Lillian. I'm going to say that again. Ha, ha. The Return of King Lillian. And it's around that project that we met. So excited. So, without further ado, heaven, let me bring to all of y'all the incredible, the gorgeous, the
Oh.
fabulous, and if I could ever bring her on, wouldn't that be great? Suzie Plakson, welcome. And yeah, you're not here yet, so I'm going to
I'm not
pause.
here yet. I'm just floating in the ethers.
She is. Oh my God,
Floating in
where
the
is she?
ethers. Can I do something on
Go.
my end? No?
Yeah, you can.
Can I?
It turns out, yeah, there you go. We did it.
I've arrived.
NASA.
Ah! Well, I
NASA.
just couldn't be happier to be anywhere than here with you, Kelly Sullivan Walden.
Suzie Plakson. Okay, so I love that we've been in this conversation about romancing the muse. And
Yeah.
there was something in this conversation. You and I had a little coffee, a little lunch about a month or so ago.
Hmm.
And somehow we were talking about creativity without a due date, without the pressure of selling it. And there was something about, no, no, no. What about the allowing the muse, flirting with the muse, romancing the muse? And there was this pop, pop, pop. So, what is it about romancing the muse that speaks to you? And what is it?
I would say it's beckoning the creative spirit. We're all infinitudes walking around, and we're all portals to the infinite. And we've all got our own highly individualized key.
Ooh, oh yes. By the
Everybody's,
way, this is something Susie made, and I'm wearing it. If you're watching this, not just
I
listening,
made it for her birthday.
I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve, a heart that Susie
Ah,
made for me. I didn't have a heart before, but anyway,
yes,
we have an
before it was sad. It
individualized.
was very sad before
It
I
was
made
just
you this polymer clay
vacant.
thing.
Thank God, man, it was, yeah, thank God. Okay,
Yes.
so now that I have my heart on my sleeve,
On your sleeve, on your pretty pink sleeve. Well, the beckoning, the muse, and not to beat the word muse to death. Could be muses. It could be our own specific creative spirit. Some, Robert Louis Stevenson had was rumored to have, no, I think he actually swore by it. He had pixies who would come and help him
oh,
with stories and things. So, you know, take it, if you're listening, as literally, as figuratively, as mythologically as you want, or not, because it's really all you. But just the notion of, I know exactly how we got to that place in the conversation. Just
oh,
in this
ooh,
moment in life,
okay.
I had a last straw event. We don't need to, doesn't matter what it is. But I remember I got to this place where I was like, you know what? I can take rejection 9,452,001, but 9,452,002, I'm done. Uncle, I can't
Mm,
do it. I can't bring art to the
mm,
marketplace anymore. I'm exhausted. And
mm.
we don't, that would not be romancing the muse but we will talk about the intimidation of the zeitgeist that we all
Yeah,
live in.
yes.
But it's really, so what that did, making that declaration of done, this is also very antithetical um to being, a ruggedly individualizing, individual accomplishing American. You got to keep going, you got to keep going. I am a big fan now and again of giving up entirely, because particularly in this instance, nature does abhor a vacuum. And so I got to see, by saying, you know what, I'm done. It's just all going to be hobby. I don't know whatever. And I began to just immediately, like little cats, they came in, and I started to, there were two songs that I fell in love with, which I won't talk about, but I fell in love with wanting to sing them just for the
Mm,
sake of singing them. And I had to keep that, and that took and
ooh,
takes a bit of a discipline to
mm-hmm.
just do for the sake of doing. So romancing, you're loving for the sake of doing it, for the sake of creating it, and keeping the door bolted for the time being
Hmm.
against the tsunami of social media and have you sold it and are you selling it and all of that stuff, so beckoning
Right.
beckoning our creative spirit, beckoning the muse. And it's depending what your predilections are, it's a bit mystical maybe, or it's just private, or you begin to seek inspiration.
Oh,
Listen to your
oh,
own longing. We all have longings. Doesn't have to be one idea that you necessarily follow up. But anyway, I think I'm putting the cart before the horse. How about you? What's your
no.
feeling of romancing
Oh,
the muse?
I'm so aware as you were talking of these very different aspects of myself.
Mm,
You and I talked about how I was in France in the summer,
yes.
early fall, and the whole time I was there, I felt like I unplugged entirely from the world of doing and creating and accomplishing and taking things to market. There was nothing, I just was a completely different Kelly. In fact,
Mm.
Dana will often say, I miss France Kelly. And I'm like, I miss France Dana. There was just so much more spaciousness, and there was writing. I mean, I wrote almost every day, but there was a very relaxed quality to it, and it was very different, and
Mhm.
it was lovely, and it was so good for me. I felt like it was medicine to just be in that space. And it was partly geographical. I mean, I think wherever people are listening or watching this from, we're influenced by our environment, whether we know it or not, by our family, our friends, and our city, our state. Susie and I happen to be in Hollywood. She's closer to the pulse of Hollywood. I'm kind of out in the boonies a bit. I'm in Topanga where, we've got squirrels everywhere. So I've got howling wolves and coyotes. But still, I can
Nice.
feel the difference coming into
Oh, yeah.
back to LA. And all of a sudden it's like, bada bing, bada boom. What are you doing? Where are you going to take this stuff? Like there's this kind of, it feels like an imperative that is a cart before the horse kind of energy,
Yes,
and
yes,
that is
yes.
here, and it's not all bad, because I
No,
think it, just like we need a little cortisol, like cortisol in the,
sure.
biologically isn't bad. Like there's some
Life is
people that
about
have
balance.
too low of cortisol and they need to like get that up there. Most people have way too much cortisol where they're just like anxious, but
Right.
we need some of it. And I
Sure.
noticed for me, I actually was really excited being back home because I did feel, I think for me sometimes I need a little bit of that energy in order to create. But what we're doing is, I'm thinking about Julia Cameron, and I think about this quote probably at least once a day, where she says that you can't create something while looking at the thing you're creating and also looking at the audience that will one day look at that thing. Like there's something that sort of stops, or there's a certain magic that kind of gets squashed when we're too externally focused while trying to create something. So
Right.
I think my muse likes it when I'm just like you said, just in the joy, like, ooh, I want to do this thing just for the WTF of it all.
Hmm.
Like just because there's a buzz, there's a tingle, there's an excitement.
Because it's expressing you.
Yes, exactly. So I'm for the different listeners. I mean, we've some listeners or viewers are like they consider themselves creatives, or
Sure.
they have a hobby, and some people might say, I really don't consider myself a creative, so maybe this isn't for me. But I would dare say that we were created by spirit. Some, we didn't create ourselves necessarily, although we might have had a hand in it, but like God is creator, and we are just like the relationship from the little drops of ocean to the whole ocean. They have the same ingredients in them. So we're like little baby drops of water that we're our little baby creators ourselves. We can't not be creative. We're creating all the time. I think what we're talking about, though, is having this sumptuous, luxurious, sexy, even like relationship. I don't know about sexy. Okay, let me delete that from the record, but like sensual relationship to the muse, so that
Mhm.
the muse wants to speak to us, so that it wants to communicate. So I don't know. These are some of the things that come to me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I think that both those that all those different ideas we can just let percolate in the minds of the
Mhm.
audience because everybody's got their own everybody's relationship to quote unquote the muse, to their creative spirit, to feeling creative, to not feeling creative. Everything is so highly individualized. The one thing I would say or add is that if Matthew Fox were here, or if Michael Mead were here, they
Yeah,
would say
yeah.
every single person is an artist. Every
Yes.
single person has genius.
Yeah.
And how we mine whatever gold is ours is a an infinitely individual process. And but I
Yeah.
and you know somebody I mean somebody may if they want to write a book go you know what I'm going to write a bestseller and that is their motive but it might be
Yeah.
what I'm saying is
Okay.
that
Okay.
person for
Yeah.
that person that may click in some other kind of you know that may be fantastic for them for me
Yes,
it would be
that's
like
true.
taking a combat boot and just stomping on a butterfly, you know,
Ooh.
death, death, shut off because it would just completely stultify me. Um, uh,
Mm.
I mean, that's not to say if things need to be done or written or finished or whatever at a certain point. Yes, I can do that, have done that. But I
Of
think
course.
today, one
Yeah.
of the reasons that I got so in touch with
Yeah.
doing for the love of doing it and
Hmm.
why that takes priming, particularly nowadays.
Mm.
It takes and you know the beauty of seeing genius bristling all over the world in all sorts of different areas
Ooh.
is inspiring and it can be intimidating because we're looking on social media or we're looking wherever oh look at that person is you know
Oh.
that person's doing this and
Yes.
I'm doing that and you know it's what you call compare
Mm.
despair and I think that
Yeah.
if you're tuning in and whether you're already a creative or you're somebody who wants to have that conversation with your soul with your you know with your deepest being um that it's kind of like calling forth a little sapling, you know, a tender little bud. And you're not going
Oh,
to put
yeah,
that
yeah.
tender little bud,
Oh.
you know, on the windy side of the mountain in the rocks and expect it to live.
Ooh.
So,
Oh.
you know, I
Oh.
think there's a
Oh.
gentleness to romancing the muse and
Yes.
like any romance because if we remember the you know the origin of Valentine's Day is this guy named
Yeah.
Valentine who actually got his head cut off. Okay, and
Oh,
so it's really
okay.
not like ooh romance. So there is you know candlelight and roses and you know rose petals on the bed and all of that with romance and there's also the shadow side so when you actually begin to create I know for me there have been plenty of times I go through a
Mm.
lot of Sturm and Drang and all of that, as well
What's
as
Sturm and Drang?
angst, you know.
The teeth gnashing. It'll never be good enough.
It's
Why have I been
terrible.
wasting my time? I'll
Yes,
never create again. Oh
yes.
God, I know. Yeah,
You
yeah, it's
know,
part of it.
but in terms of when you first when the wonderful title just burst out of your mouth, "Romancing the Muse," it's the instant sense I got was a beckoning.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. S- So in that space, when I think about like when I've been romanced as a woman,
Hmm.
it's I've been loved, paid attention to,
Mm,
listened to,
hmm. Hmm.
I'm thinking of I don't know why. I mean, Dana loves me like God, he loves me. He would do anything for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
And just in this moment, I'm thinking about this time when this ex-boyfriend and I had broken up, and somehow he got it into his mind that he had to woo me back. And for months, I was like absolutely held to the no, 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 no. But almost every day he did some grand gesture where he, like, there were rose petals, that there was a limousine, there was the concerts, there was the this and the picnic on the beach, and there was the genuine attention and the listening and the caring, and I was like, all right, you got me. And of course it didn't last with them, so the bottom line is
Yes, but
it
I
has
know
to
what
be
you're saying.
sustainable.
There's something about coming to the sorry, go ahead. You were
No,
sorry.
no, no, it's, I
Oh,
mean, it's
well,
like
there's oh,
it has to be genuine. It has to be like not
absolutely.
just we're gonna hunt the deer, get her, and then move on and be, a bleep, be somebody that she's not gonna love after, like
Well,
love bomb and
it's
run.
what you said is very important. There's a sort of a, I think, like say, I don't necessarily think of the muse necessarily, but I do think that, or my experience has been that different ideas have
Yes.
different personalities, different timelines, unfortunately, and different minds. And but
Yes.
once I've gotten, the idea, do I want to show up for it? I'm going to answer the call.
Oh.
And am I going to keep
Oh.
answering the call? And what does that mean?
Oh.
Does it mean that you
Yeah.
show up every day and you try to write it or sculpt it or whatever? Not necessarily. Sometimes it just means paying attention, listening, knowing you have an idea for something in your head. I'm just speaking. All of this, by the way, I just want to keep saying it's self-referential. These are my experiences.
Yeah.
Everybody's different and everybody does this different,
Well,
goes
yours,
about
you
this
being
differently.
self-referential is pretty wonderful because you are perhaps the most talented and creative person I know,
Oh,
and diverse, and like a Jill of all trades. Like everything you touch, it turns to magic. And,
well,
I know a
that's
lot of talented people, and usually they have their singular lane that they rock in, and you rock everywhere.
well,
And so,
that's
whatever
so
you
kind of
do,
you.
we want to know what you do.
You're so kind. But here's the thing. Maybe life would be a lot different. I've often thought of this. I've often thought, too bad I wasn't just a violinist because boy, would I be amazing. Would I be masterful? Would I be all of these things? But, I think I didn't know that I was going to be any kind of multimedia anything. And I feel
Hmm.
like, was I attracted to theater as a young person? Yes, I was. But I feel like my journey through acting, that I was lucky enough, I was fortunate enough to now and again be hired as a shapeshifter. And that's
Yeah.
that's cool.
AKA
But
actress.
AKA actress. However, all the way through, always haunting me was that I was artistically frustrated as hell. And there
Hmm.
has to be, what is that? I think Jesus might have said this. It's something
Mm.
about if you don't express what is inside of you, it will kill
Oh,
you. And if you do, it will save you. Something like
oh
that, right?
God. Say it one more time. Just say it
Okay,
one
it's a
more time.
bad
I need it.
paraphrase. Sorry,
No, it's,
Jesus.
and it was, I think
Okay.
it's from the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Sorry. This will be a
Sorry,
bad quote,
Jesus.
but sorry about that, Jesus. But if you don't express what is within you, it will kill you. And if you do express what is within you, it will save you.
Okay, pause for the angels to sing. There's a choir of invisible
And it's
angels
true of
singing.
all of us. It's true of all of us, and mining our own gold is not something that we are, generally speaking, most of us primed to do. It really takes doing,
Yeah.
um, it takes doing to do that.
Yes, it does. Okay. So this notion of what we what we don't create, what we don't express
Mm.
will kill us, and what we do
In some
express
form.
might
Yeah.
save us. But really, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm being unkind and unsympathetic, but I've often there's often an emotional equivalent to any dis-ease, and we could say that many dis-eases are about a suppression of something, things that haven't been expressed, even if those things are tears, even if it's
Yeah. Yeah.
anger, even if it is creative joy, if it's whatever. But and we because we don't necessarily have a place for it to, or we haven't created a place to put it. But I think it doesn't have to be all that fancy, and it doesn't have to be for the market. It can be expressing in
Oh,
our own little journal, in our own, in some place where
absolutely.
nobody even sees it. One of the conversations that Rasuli has been such a muse for me,
Yes, with your
and he's
with your
the
and a collaborator on your oracles, on your oracle cards.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. And one thing that he said is that it's like he's not up to date on any media, basically. If I say, oh, have you
Attaboy.
heard of this show, he's like, no, because he'll try to watch a movie or a documentary or even go to an art gallery, and it takes but 1 second before he gets inspired to do the next thing he has to create. So he never gets to finish watching anything. He'll like pick up a page of a book and find a paragraph and be like, oh, that word, oh my god, get me at my canvas. So the ratio of consumption versus creation, it's he's mostly in creation mode, and he does get stimulated by a rose or by a wind or like a star in
Mm-hmm.
the sky at night. But it's like there's inspiration, and then there's expression,
Mm.
inspiration, expression, and there's just this, and there's a lot. And I mean, just like you and Rasuli, I'm going to compare you both. You're both prolific,
Mm.
and I would say, and you're both extremely successful. And I know you're going to go, ah, yeah, yeah," but
No, no,
you
no. I
are.
am.
Wait,
I'm
let
going
me
to
just.
stop. Go ahead.
It's my show. I can do
I
the.
know. I'm
I
like,
have
no,
control
you
over
can't
mute.
keep
Just
talking
kidding.
now.
But I want to say you're both extremely successful, and Rasuli's got a lot of paintings that haven't seen the light of day. There's for every one painting that he does that has sold, that is in all kinds of places, there's 10 more that haven't, or whatever it is. So we're talking about very, like, you're a very successful artist. What you've done in the world is out there in a larger than life way. And just because there is that, it doesn't mean that every single thing is going to sell like gangbusters to everybody in real time. I mean, later in time, like Van Gogh, it's like it's going to, all of it will sell, all of it will go somewhere. But it's not our job. That is not our part.
True.
We must stay in our lane. The piece for me as a creator, because I just about every day I'm writing something, I'm creating something, and I know you've got something on your mind, and I'm going to give you 1 second,
No,
but
actually,
wait for
there's
me
so
one
many
sec.
things on my mind now. They're gone. But
It's
so we'll
I
have to
oh
move
god,
on with
oh god, oh god.
we'll have to go to our topic thing. But go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I
You're on
want
a
to
roll.
say that we all have our, like, that highly individualized path, that highly individualized curriculum, a highly individualized way. The Course in Miracles says we all have a highly individualized curriculum for being alive, but we have a unique way that we express, and the way the muse speaks to us. So, in other words, you
Mm.
be you, boo. And it makes me wonder, one of the creative things that has just miraculously flown through you was this incredible song and a music video that goes with it. Um,
It's actually not you,
it's just
which
a
one you're talking
picture.
about? UBU or didn't want to do it?
You
Because
be you be you.
UBU, there's
Go.
no music video. There's just a placeholder
Okay, it's okay,
picture.
but to me, it's a music video.
Oh,
I
good.
see
Well,
it, and
one
so
day I
because
want it to, I would love it to be.
the
Yeah.
picture is so. I mean, I see it so visually. So, give us a little bit about what inspired you be you. Tell us about that process.
Okay. Talking about little ideas that are planted in Your Psyche by the Muse or My Psyche by the Muse, I just at some point, those three letters came to me as a little sort of seed lodged
Mm.
in, and I thought, oh, I think that might be a pop song. I don't know why, because I don't really know how to write a pop song. My and then at the same time, it was coinciding with my absolute rage and disgust with people being bullied. Like I can't handle it anymore.
Ah,
I'm so over it. We're beyond it. I'm sick of it. Whatever it was just got me so, people always feeling like they're on the outside of things and they're not good enough and all, and which is almost
mm,
everybody, by the way.
mhm,
So
mhm.
somehow or another, and this is about, if the muse in the form of an idea, whatever, is kind of coming, knocking at the chamber door, and you answer the door. um it
Ooh.
was just in my mind that it was some kind of pop song. I wasn't really, as I've said to you before, I don't do things, I grow things. So
Oh. Oh yeah. One more time. Say that, please.
I don't do
God.
things, I grow things. Now that doesn't mean that to do
I
things is wrong. It's just that these things, if they have a mind of their own and a personality of their own and a way they're going to grow, I'm the gardener essentially. And
oh, that's
so
gorgeous.
this
Yeah.
this song, I mean, this is where the perhaps the universe helps out a little bit. So this was in my mind and spirit to want to do. It was during the pandemic, when I was online more and I was watching. I was just like, I'm so tired of this. And
Mm,
I went to my chiropractor who I'd been going to for 30 years, and across the hall from him, literally, there's a music studio with these two young rap artists as who were the
mm,
producers. And
mm.
I had gone to record something else, and we all got along so well. And I thought, I think this may be the place to do UBU. And so I was with, in other words, the absolute perfect people that I could have possibly been with to bring forth this song. And not to not to to denigrate your sweet words, but things don't often fly through at all. There is a, like, a little bit, and then we got to work on the beat and find, is that the beat? That's the beat. That's the beat. And it could take who knows whatever, and it's a coaxing, I find, that I feel when I'm especially with music. I'm like conjuring, because I'm not a trained songwriter at all. So, basically, um, I just I the best I can say is, like, I conjure, I wordsmith a little, I do whatever, but it's not, um anything that I've created is not without its labor pain. But
Mm.
if we're talking about the romance, and we're talking about the gentle love of the creature that we're bringing forth, you know as the song begins to make itself known, it's like, I suppose, as I don't actually have a garden, but I know my sister has a beautiful garden, and I know that people who have gardens, they're just enchanted with the, oh, look, there it is, and there's a love for this beautiful thing that you're growing, so you want to make it, you know go ahead, what's in your head? Oh.
I was just thinking about um, Gary Young from Young Living Essential Oils. I don't know if I shared this story with you, but I got to, so he's passed now, but a couple years before he passed, I got to meet him, and I was invited to his farm in Washington, where his lavender farm, mostly lavender, but
Oh
other things
God,
as
it
well.
must be
I got to
gorgeous.
be there during the harvest. It was very
Wow.
special. And
Wow.
I was so moved. He was talking about sort of the difference between lavender and Melissa, and the Melissa plant and um, oil. And he was talking about how with lavender, there's kind of, you can sort of calendar when the harvest is going to happen. But with Melissa, you can't. You have to be so attuned to her. He called her a her. And I was so moved by that. He said, if you try to push it, what you get is like sour. It doesn't, like, it's no good. And if you
Mm.
wait too long, then it's not right. You have to listen to her. You have to absolutely
Right.
allow her process and let her tell you when she's ready. And it might be in the middle of the night, it might be at the complete inopportune moment. But if you want this medicinal oil that will heal you, you have to tune into her. And when you do, oh heavens, it is
I love
worth
this.
every bit of it. And he would
It's
literally
true.
cry when he thinks of Melissa. He's like, she's like a woman. And I would say she's like the muse as well. Like you can't just say,
Well,
here we go, do
what's
it.
putting me in mind of it too is the capriciousness of the muse in some ways.
Yeah.
A wonderful uh, Liz Gilbert's TED talk about the muse.
Oh,
Everybody has to find.
heavens.
It's so much
Yeah.
fun and it's so
The
hilarious and so
genius,
true.
right? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's about the muse. And
Yeah.
and I mean, I've had my own when I was writing this alternative country rock album. I didn't know how to songwrite. It began from with me writing a song for my dad when he'd passed, and we thought we'll keep a foot in country, and I just kept doing it. And the other thing about my muse is just a
Mm.
small thing. My particular relationship is I need to be secretive. I can't be talking about, I mean, if a
Oh,
publishing
yeah.
company said, I need to know what book you're writing, that's a different story. But I'm talking about
Right.
just this. I never
Yeah.
told anybody while I was working on that whole album for like a year and a half. But anyway, because there's something, I mean, whether it's superstition,
Oh.
whether it's a little bit because I'm a little bit of a mystical kind of a person, or whether my mother has this saying. I think it's a Yiddish saying that um, you're not supposed to kinahura the baby when a woman is pregnant. Don't kinahura the baby. In other words, don't
Oh.
celebrate. Don't have
Oh.
all sorts of parties until the baby is born and healthy. Shh. So maybe it's some of that,
Oh, that's so interesting.
but in
Mhm.
terms of the capriciousness, so I'm just I had gotten a phrase for this song called "At the End of My Day," which I still think was probably a gift from my dad,
Mhm.
and I'd gotten this da 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 da. It'll all be okay if at the end of my day there is you. So I got that in the middle of the night, and I
Chills.
loved it immediately. I was like, oh, 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 that's a song. That's great. So I kind of intuited what kind of song maybe it was kind of like that I was hearing that maybe it wanted to be. So I just was sort of steeping in different kinds of music. And this is very important to remember pre iPhone. So
Ooh.
I did not have a pen and piece of paper. I did not have a recorder because I was an idiot and did not know what the hell I was doing. So I go to Ralph's, which is the supermarket, and I'm buying baby broccoli, which I don't even
As one
like.
does.
I don't even like it, and I always overcook it, but still I was buying it. And as I'm standing there, I hear, some people would say it's a download, but I don't like that word. It's too technological, but I hear
Mm.
two verses, like music and words, I hear it. And
Can
I'm
you sing them for us?
I'm trying. No, no, no. I'm saying I
Okay.
can't. Oh no, I haven't heard the song in so long I wouldn't remember it. But I mean, in that moment, I'm trying to memorize what they are so that I can go. But I'm like buying more broccoli than I need, trying to sort of slightly sing it without moving my lips so people won't think
Oh,
I'm like
broccoli.
crazy. And then I go rushing over like a fool. I didn't know any better. I go to rush over to the line. I wait in line. I'm looking at the People magazine and the National Enquirer. So of course it's gone. It's gone. So I had to
Gone.
go back to the broccoli. And
You had to
when
go back.
I did, and it was there. And I heard it again. And
God.
this time I was smart enough to put everything
Yes.
down and just leave the damn grocery store, go into my car, sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it. Now, was that the entirety of the song? No, it wasn't, but it was more of it. But it was a gift, you know?
It was a gift.
there's this, it's bringing to mind, there's
Wow.
this, sometimes when people are seeking inspiration, I think it's a great idea to read about creativity, depending what your, what your predilections are.
So true.
And I, there's this one book, and I wrote it down so that I would remember the name of it, because I used to cover it with highlighter. It's called Higher Creativity:
Mm.
Liberating the Unconscious for Breakthrough Insights. And it's written by
Ooh.
a couple of scientists, and it's probably like a couple decades old, and truly, or definitely it's a couple decades old at least. And it's truly, for some of the people in the consciousness community, they may be like, ah, well, I know what an active guided meditation is, blah blah. But the main idea of it is, they studied Mozart and, all of these famous people, scientists as well, break through what it
Mm.
took,
Mm.
what patterns there might be in breakthrough, um, breakthrough ideas. What happened? What were they thinking? Can it be created? Can that be? So again,
Ooh.
we're beckoning, the muse. And there's this one story, and I think I'm going to make it up. It might not be Beethoven. It may not be Beethoven, but I think it might be. Okay.
Okay.
And he's on a carriage ride somewhere, and he sort of halfway falls asleep on the carriage ride, and it's a long ride. And he opens his eyes a little bit, and he sees some kind of meadow, and hears the whole next symphony. He's just got it. It falls into his head.
Mm.
And then he gets to where he's going, and he can't remember it. So he goes back, and it's there.
Oh my
And,
God. Isn't that
I'm not saying that's
interesting?
always true, but I just think,
No, there's something, it
go
just,
ahead.
even with like remembering a dream, I tell people, like, just go back to where your
Oh,
head was on the
yes,
pillow. Like, how
yes.
was your body? Were you on your right side? Were you just sort of,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
like
so
go back
smart.
in. And
Right.
often it's in the locate, there's something geographical about these memory imprints. So keep going.
And of course, mining, now that you've said it, just,
Yeah.
what is it, leapfrogging or piggybacking or whatever
Yeah.
on that,
Sure. All of it. Piggy
dreaming,
frogging.
dreaming,
Yeah.
um, I've mined some gold from dreams
Yes, you
creatively.
have.
And,
Oh, yes,
there
you
have been,
have.
and I won't say it's everything, but that's, again, if the muse, your creative spirit, nine muses, whatever the hell you think it is, your soul is giving you, or some angel or whatever is giving you a gift or a something to inspire you, and you wake up, it doesn't mean that it's something that you necessarily have to give, 30 years of your life to, the way I did with the Return of King Lillian. But
Right.
remember, we talked about the one where I
Oh,
had a dream where there was a golden disc hanging at the edge of my bed
yes.
in the sky, and it was surrounded
Yes.
by ancient Chinese characters. And
Yeah.
I was going through a really terrifying time around that moment. And I
Hmm.
just decided something about it. There was a lot of little synchronicities going on around it as well. And I just went, I'm going to try to sculpt that. And I just gave myself to it. And the most important thing for me at the end of that journey, and it will take you on a journey if you say, I'm going, if you keep showing up, is that I remember saying to you that it was like I felt as if my spirit was a lake without a ripple. I was as calm as I've ever been. And I transformed through the creation of that sculpture
Mm.
from a place of white knuckled anxiety to a place of calm. Um, and so there's all, I mean, dancing with your muse, romancing your muse can mean a meditation. You're involved in art as meditation. Again, Matthew Fox, Original Blessing, is a great book to talk about, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, original blessing. Love him. Okay. Oh my heavens. So I'm thinking of just one thing I want to say, and then I want us to actually play UBU. Um,
Oh,
I think on the
cool.
romancing aspect, there can be some very, it can be so simple. Like one, there was, I was working on some project, and and I and I shared with a friend. that I was feeling really stressed for some reason in like getting into the right mindset. And there was a particular, like, more angst than normal. There's always some angst, there's always some distraction, there's always something. There's always going to be some sand in the oyster,
Ah,
except for
life
in
of the
your
human in the
except your experience of the no ripples on the pond. I mean that, or on the lake. Woo! But there was a lot of ripples on
yeah.
my lake during this project, and she said, "Well, what would it take to not have that?" And I'm like, "Oh, like instead of just accepting that I was somehow martyred by my creativity,
Wow.
and I was feeling kind of taking some sort of, I don't know, pat on the back at how martyred I was, and which, like, ooh, if it's not necessary, why have that?" So I had this thought. What popped into my mind was, what if I went upstairs in my mind to write this book? What if there was this like attic in my mind that was beautifully adorned, almost like what you'd see on a catalog for like Better Homes and Gardens, like these beautiful little rocking chairs with a nook with a little lookout and a window and a cup of tea and some scones and a rug.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, what if I went up to the attic of my mind and it was like that? And and the scones were like hot, so you could smell those, and they were blueberry. And I remember, and then there's fresh tea. And what if in my mind that's where I was writing, and I invited the energy to come into that space, and the stress and the angst went away.
Wow.
And actually, that book, that was Luminous Humanness,
Oh,
and
wow.
it became such a meditation for me, that it was I was, and this was also during the pandemic, by the way. And so there's mayhem going on around. Everybody is, the sky is falling. It's the end of life I mean, it was so dark, and there was so many people and animals. I mean, there was death and destruction everywhere. And yet every day that I wrote, I went into this attic. And I felt like the muse was there, almost like a Kuan Yin kind of an energy that was so
Wow,
gentle
how
and so soft.
lovely.
And she met me there in the muse, in the attic, and the writing just felt like it was a different space than I had ever been in before,
And
and
was
it
it
was so
specific to that
lovely.
book? Was
It
that
was.
experience, but see, that's what's so fascinating
It
to me.
was.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was.
yeah.
And yet I know that's now I know how to get to that place. I can get there for anything. But the new book I'm working on, Dreamifesting, has a different energy. So I feel like,
They
ooh,
all
I need to
do.
create my space for that, the muse of that book, which is sort of a different muse.
Mhm.
But on that note, the You Be You, you wrote this book kind of, I loved that
Song.
you brought in that there was, I'm sorry, this song, which may be a book, but right now it's a song
No,
that
never.
was, so sometimes the muse, sometimes the creativity happens in response to some kind of pain or angst, or something's wrong,
Sure.
like the bullying and the vitriol and then, like, this is the antidote. This is what I would rather see, instead of just going down the road of like, it shouldn't be this way. It's like, well, you are creator, then create the thing that you wish it were,
And
right?
you know what's so
Yes.
funny to me when I think about that is that I came in and was talking to the guys about it, and I said, I just want people when they hear it, they just feel better for having heard it and all of this stuff. So that's what we'd all traded sort of stories where we felt like outsiders or whatever. And at some point I came in and one of the guys, Joel, said to me, was telling him about a little incident for whatever reason that, and he said, you know what? Really, you wrote that song for you because you needed it. You're the one that needs to be you.
Oh
And
my
I was like,
God. Oh,
wow.
that's good.
Yeah, he's only half my age and knows twice as much. Exactly.
Oh, oh,
You
they
know.
do. Oh, but they
Yes.
do.
Oh,
Okay,
but they
so,
do.
oh, but they do. So we're gonna hear You Be You. This is a 4-minute song, and
Yes.
every second of it is delicious. So get prepared, get into a juicy place, and let me see if here we can go. And, ooh.
Welcome to the Earth experience. Please unfasten your seatbelts. Please be who you came to be so you can do what you came to do. So here's a little motto you're gonna want a tattoo. Boo. You be you. Listen to me now. Whether you're from Memphis or from Timbuktu, whether you're from Paris or from Kathmandu, don't you go being anybody else but you. Remember who you are. You're really made of stars. You gotta open up your mind, but be your own guru. Open up your heart, let your light shine through. You gotta, ooh, ooh, you gotta, ooh, ooh, you gotta. Let yourself be, set yourself free. Be who you got to be, you be you. Let yourself be, set yourself free. Be who you got to be, you be you. I know it sounds so simple, not so easy to do. You got to keep on dancing down the avenue. Sometimes it breaks your heart, sometimes it makes you blue. But you just gotta be you. You gotta, ooh, ooh, you gotta, ooh, ooh, you gotta. Don't let the crowd upset you. Don't let them take your crown. So what if they don't get you? Don't let it get you down. Don't you care what they say? Just let them go their way. Just say bye-bye, okay. Bye-bye, okay. Hey. Just let them be they. Just let him be he. Just let her be she. And now just be me. And boo, you be you. Yeah, you be you. Sing it. Let yourself be, set yourself free. Be who you got to be, you be you. Let yourself be, set yourself free. Be who you got to be, you be you. Yeah. Let yourself be, set yourself free. Be who you got to be, you be you. Let yourself be, set yourself free. Be who you got to be, you be you.
Oh my
That was so sweet of
God.
you too. I haven't heard
So
it in a long
fun.
time.
Oh my God, it's great. Oh, heavens.
Hey,
Okay, there's more
question. How
music
much
playing
time
and
do
I'm
we
gonna
have?
we're just about to wrap. And I know one of the things I know, I know that when we get into the muse, it's like
We
we go,
chatterbox, girl. We do.
well, we're outside of time and it does fly. And I
It's
know
fine for
one
me.
one of the things that we talked about is there's something about the the edgeness quality of art, like being, because we don't necessarily, I mean, sometimes we get those little, like you said, it's not a download but just kind of a gift that like a piece will flow in, but often it's seldom that an entire piece comes in. So there's often this vulnerability in the creation. I think some people think Well, I have to write it like I must already know what I'm going to create before I create it. But there's like, I think Lena Dunham and so many other artists say I write to figure out what it is I have to say, or maybe I create, I just get into it and then it becomes something. So there is this, in order to be in a healthy relationship with the muse, we sort of need to be in a healthy relationship with our edge. So you
Yeah.
wrote a beautiful piece called The Edge. Ooh.
Wow. Is there going to be time, do you think, to
Yes,
read
there
it?
will be. Yes, there
Okay.
sure will be.
Wow.
Um,
Let me just say
yeah.
one thing about it before is that I feel like I'm always jumping off internal cliffs when I'm creating something. It's always like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but here goes nothing, and jumping and hoping that there are not sharp rocks below. And so I think this is a poem and I'm generally not a poet, but this was a writing prompt a long time ago, and I do need my glasses for this. Um, that pretty much came out whole cloth. So here we go. The Edge and I. I've never lived on the edge, or near it, really, or in the fabulously fabled center. I've mostly been mired in this marsh of a middle, like a toothless crocodile. You know the edge, the legendary edge. Seems everybody else has danced on it in toe shoes, bragged about making love on it in a sleeping bag under the stars, setting fires on it, sending smoke signals to folks at the other end of the universe, sitting on their edges, sending smoke signals. I've heard tell of the edge, all right, but my mother wouldn't let me go. It's different now, though. Life's ever so much shorter now. So call me to the edge, and I will come. But be sincere, and stand there and wait for me like you promised. Yes, if you call and mean it, I will come. I will reach for a branch and yank myself out of the muck and begin to walk to where the sun shines from and the moon shines over, to where I've never been invited before and am somehow expected now. Yes, I will trudge to the edge, feet heavy with fear and mud from the middle muck still stuck and left to dry, and by the time I reach it, I will be free of the dust of all those centuries, clean and whistling. And when I get there, if you are there, smiling, why, I will skip along that old edge. Why, I will freaking la at the top of my lungs. I will waltz and I will teeter and I will stand on one leg and I will dare oblivion to come and get me. Maybe I will fall and fall and fall forever and a day. Maybe I will. So what? At least I'll have direction and the wind in my hair and the lightest of hearts and no appointments to bore me and no one feeling sorry that I fell. I'll just keep on free falling. Why, I'll make it my profession. Yes, I'll become an expert first-class faller, cutting Z-shapes in the air, with my skirt around my ears, twirling downwards at breathtaking speed, so that all the folks sitting on branches along the side are too afraid to wave for fear that they'll fall too, and that'd make me giggle all the way down and down and down into eternity. Or perhaps, whilst I was standing at the edge, looking out and over and beyond and through all the illusions, I might fly. But no one has to go on about flying. Too much has been made of it already. Yes, I think to fall might be the more exhilarating of the two. Spirits fly, so there's plenty of time for that. Humans fall. But to fall forever, masterfully, in somersaults and swan dives, no shrieks of terror, only screams of laughter and curses of laughter and sobs of laughter. Now that would be something. So call me to the edge and I will come. I will show right up. I may not choose to fall at first, it's true, but push me if you please. Tell me that you love me and give me a sweet, light shove and bid me adieu and dangle your legs over and eat a sandwich and watch me till I'm a small, happy dot in the blue.
And the crowd is stunned. Oh,
Oh,
let's dive in.
let's
Oh,
jump off.
Suzie Plakson.
And to send off everybody, since we're wrapping
Yes,
up, can I just say
yeah.
this one little thing? Guillaume
Oh,
Apollinaire, who was a
yes.
Renaissance man from the early, I forget which century. I've been alive for so many of them. I think it's 19th.
7,000 to count
7,000
so
to
far.
count,
Right.
exactly, my dear. And he has this wonderful saying that I just love, and it is this: "Come to the cliff," he said. "They said, 'We are afraid.' Come to the cliff," he said. They came. He pushed them, and they flew. So fly or fall. We wish
Fly
everybody
or fall. Romance that muse. I think the
romance
muse
that
is
muse.
properly romanced. And everyone check more out about Suzie Plakson. She's got a wonderful website, SuziePlakson.com. It's Suzie with a Z and an I-E, S-U-Z-I-E, Plakson with a K. And on Facebook, she posts beautiful, beautiful stories and wonderful things. And on all the places, and get The Return of King Lillian. Delight yourself. Get the audiobook and the book, the physical book. Oh, Suzie, you are just magic. I think one way to romance the muse is just to hang out with you and to
Oh,
just
Kel, I was just about to
dip.
say the same thing to you.
God, I feel
Thank you
so
so
creatively
much.
inspired. I'm like, let me at him, let me at him. Okay, I'm gonna dive
Thank you
in.
so much for having me, and I'm sending all my love to everybody out there. And take wing, fly, or fall, whatever. Have fun.
Thank you for listening to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show. If you enjoyed this episode, take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends. My show can be found on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to order my new book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, go to your favorite online or brick and mortar retailer, then head on over to kellysullivanwalden.com, tragic to magic. Input your order number and redeem your bonus gifts. I'm also excited to be offering a DreamWork practitioner training. So if that calls to you, go to kellysullivanwalden.com/DreamWork. If you'd like to join me for the live recording of these shows, most Wednesdays at noon Pacific, you can find me on Facebook at Kelly Sullivan Walden Dreams. If you have a question about your dreams or about how to transform your tragic into magic, email me at kelly@kellysullivanwalden.com. Until next time, remember, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And as you awaken to the power of your dreams, you make the world a lighter, brighter, more beautiful place, one dream at a time. Sweet dreams.